Live from KTTC, your weather authority. This is KTTC News at 10.
Thank you for watching us. It's an industry that has brought in more than $8 million to the state of Iowa, but it is not yet legal here in Minnesota.
That would be sports betting. New tonight, Noah Kaplan takes a closer look as to how this would impact Minnesota's casino and gambling landscape. And what'd you find out, Noah?
Well, Tom and Caitlin, the state government and the state's Native American population would be the two groups who benefit the most from its added revenue. The main question yet to be answered, how much of the fill would both receive?
There's politics involved here. There's certainly a lot of money involved here from the standpoint of just how that money might be used.
Republican State Senator David Senjum is backing fellow GOP Senator Roger Chamberlain's latest plans on introducing a new bill, one that would legalize sports betting in Minnesota.
Initially, a couple of years ago, there was a fair amount of public support that I sensed, at least.
But the main question on its introduction into the state, how will it affect Native tribes and their respective casino industries?
Certainly my idea would be that money that would find its way into the general fund of the state of Minnesota and be used for productive and good things.
Every tribe is trying to diversify their income. Whatever tribes can do to garner more funds to help their people, I would be fully in support of that as long as they follow the laws and things like that.
Valerie Gomerez is a co-founder of GRADS, a Dakota supporter group in southeast Minnesota. She says anything that can benefit Minnesota tribes should be considered by the state's government.
Tribes have given up so much in the way of resources. I would hope that the state would understand that and try to be equitable.
And believes the revenue of a potentially multi-million-dollar annual industry should go towards aiding Native communities.
So my hope would be that the revenue would go to improve the conditions on the reservations.
Senjum would agree that communication with the tribes will help get sports betting approved quicker.
So how we work with the tribes on this is going to be incredibly important from the standpoint of being able to make it happen.
And in a statement today, Senator Chamberlain said, quote, "If you want to place a little money in support of your favorite team, you shouldn't have to drive to Iowa or use an international gambling app to do it." Back to you.